there may be a day that I am not a hot mess. Today is not that day. Hi everyone, welcome to and read another chapter. I've kind of been digging the Instagram reels lately. Some of them are pretty funny, and when I make them, I tend to center them around coffee. So, that was fun. Anyway, as the title to this video says, these are the books that I would like to read in 2022. And I went to the shelf that I had like rearranged and cleaned and all of that. I made a video with it. You can check it out below. I don't do iCards. I know, I'm lazy and it's terrible for my channel. It's just, girl only has so much time. Anyway, go ahead and check that video out down below if you are curious as to what I did to my shelves. But that is like my main bookshelf in the house. And they are now stacked 2 books deep. And there's a lot of books that I would like to read. And it's really hard to start narrowing choices down because I started pulling things out, making stacks, putting some back, pulling more out, putting some back. The reality is I want to read all the books that I have on my shelves and plenty more besides. So I'm trying to be good and make sure that these happen in the year 2022. We'll see how that works. Some of these are rereads for me, some of these are classics, some of these are nonfiction, some of these, well, there's a whole bunch here. And they are precariously stacked over here in no particular order. I mean, if we don't have like a Chantal book collapse in this video, I'm going to be very surprised. Some of you may get that. Did I mentioned this is in no particular order, right? Off the bat, I actually have 2 copies of these because I'm going to see if my daughter wants one before I reach out and see if anybody else wants one. But I have done Jen Wilkins' Women of the Word, and I just finished up In His Image, and so the next one that I'm going to read is None Like Him. And I picked up one from the thrift store and one I had on my shelves. And the one from the thrift store, I think the person did less than 1 chapter on and wrote in it and marked it, so I'm okay keeping that and marking it up. So I pulled both copies out to remind me to contact my friend about the other one. The other nonfiction off the bat that I would like to read is On Reading Well by Karen Swallow Prior. I've seen some of her stuff on Instagram and I'm interested in seeing what this is like, and I think I've started it, but I don't remember anything about what I've read so far. But it's Finding the Good Life Through Great Books, and it just is, it's endorsed by Matt Chandler and Bogle, who does the Mrs. Darcy podcast or blog or something like that. I know she annotates or edits or does something a lot of classics. So anyway, that's one that I would really like to get to. Now I have a stack of 5 books here because on Instagram earlier there was a like the story tag going around 5 books that you wanted to read this year, and these were the 5 that immediately came to mind. So off the bat I have Lady Clementine, and I believe this is about Mrs. Winston Churchill. Yes, Clementine Churchill. And Marie Benedict, this would be my second Marie Benedict book. The first one I read was The Other Einstein. I guess I only have 2 at first, but I really would like to read more by this author. I am really intrigued with what she does. Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Gruden. I believe this is about what if Hitler had actually won World War II. And yes, the year is 1956 and the Axis powers of the Third Reich and Imperial Japan rule. So I've had this one on my shelves to read forever as well. This is Going Over, and so this is about 2 kids on either side of the Berlin Wall. One is kind of like a punk and one is more, well, if he's on that side of the wall, he's living really strictly. So that is that story. Cherokee America. And I'm just going to read the black blurb here. I believe I picked this up because I was trying to find, and I showed you recently in a haul, I found it, Abraham's Well, and it's the story of the black slaves of the Cherokee indigenous nation. There was several black slaves of these Native Americans that had to walk the Trail of Tears, and I was trying so hard to find that book, and I came across this one as well, and this I was really curious about. So this is a baby, a black hired hand, a bay horse, a gun, and a neighbor have all gone missing in the same corner of the Cherokee Nation. Cherokee American singer known as Czech, a wealthy farmer, mother of 5 boys, and the matriarch of her family, is determined to find out what's going on. As she knows all too well, complex alliances and simmering race and culture clashes unite and divide the people living on the Cherokee land in the aftermath of the Civil War. Tensions mount and violence escalates, and the long arm of the white law encroaches further into. This says Indian territory, and it's written by a Cherokee woman. So if she's using that terminology, I'm using it, folks. So don't shoot the person here. Yeah, this has happened before. So she's using it. Encroaches further into Indian territory. Inspired by Margaret Verbal's family history and written with a dry humor and a lot of heart, Cherokee America is a different kind of Western, one told from a Native American point of view and with mixed-race women at its center. It is a multi-layered, wholly original epic of the American frontier. So that one's one that I wanted to read. And I fell madly in love with the home front, the kitchen front, about 4 women who basically kind of go on this cooking show back during the 1940s, and it was just so much fun. It was so much fun, and I wanted to see what else she had, and this is another one that she wrote, The Spies of Shilling Lane. She also wrote The Chilbury Ladies Choir, which I also own, and I want to read both of them and see if I really like her books. I haven't picked them up yet because somebody that I typically agree with in her books said that she really didn't like the Chilbury Ladies Choir. And so now I'm like, do I want to attempt it? I really liked Kitchen Front, and I really kind of want to keep that love going on here. Who knows? I don't know what I want. Okay, I have a couple of nonfiction, like Christian living type books here, and these are just ones that I've been wanting to get to for a while. One is Keep a Quiet Heart by Elizabeth Elliot. I remember reading this when I was 14, 15, and it's time to read it again. I have a suspicion that I'm not going to love it as much this time as I did when I was a teen. I feel like I have matured enough that as much as I love Elizabeth Elliot and that she can give some really deep and harsh truths, she can also be a little too much self-righteous in her mannerisms for me. And so I'm kind of on the fence, if that makes sense. Okay, another one I have is, and I think this was given to me, The Sacrament of Happy, what a smiling God brings to a wounded world. It was just given to me. I just want to kind of read through it, decide if this is the book for me, and be done, and kind of work through the books on my shelves. Born Broken. I actually got this. This is An Adoptive Journey by Kristen Berry. And the story began like a dream. Fairy tale ended. One family's powerful story of faith begins. Yada, yada, yada. So this is kind of just an adoptive story. And that's something that I would like to do one day. And then last, I think, for the nonfiction Christian living self-help-ish is Nancy Leigh DeMoss Wolgemuth, Choosing Gratitude. Now, what's interesting is I had actually pulled this out, and my mom texted me saying that she couldn't find the book that she was going to read next, and she was going to work through this one, and she has sent me clips of what she's reading, and I need to read this. Like, it's now become a priority. And what's even more funny is she's going to do None Like Him next. I think that's actually the one that she was going to work through and didn't have. So now she ended up with that one. So This is a 30-day devotional included, included. Um, but yeah, I would like to get to that one. Is the Book of Lost Friends by Lisa Wingate. I still haven't read Before We Were Yours. I'm trying to think of all the Lisa Wingate books I've actually read. I know there's another one. In case you did not know what this one's about, Louisiana, 1875. In the tumultuous era of Reconstruction, 3 young women set off as unwilling companions on a perilous quest. Hanny, a free slave, Lavinia, the pampered heir to now a desolate plantation, and Juno Lane, Lavinia's Creole half-sister, each carry private wounds and powerful secrets as they head to Texas, following roads rife with vigilantes and soldiers still fighting a war lost a decade before. Then we have another timeline of Louisiana, 1987, for first-year teacher Benedetta. Why can't you put it all in one line? Benedetta Silva, a subsidized job at a poor rural school seems like the ticket to canceling. A subsidized job at a poor rural school seems like the ticket to canceling her hefty student debt until she lands in a tiny, out-of-step Mississippi River town. Augustine, Louisiana is suspicious of new ideas and new people, and Benny can scarcely comprehend the lives of her poverty-stricken students. But amid the gnarled live oaks and run-down plantation homes lies a century-old history of 3 young women, a long-ago journey, and a hidden book that could change everything. I talked about Abraham's Well. I would like to read this one again. I don't know. I just would really like to read that again. I remember just being flabbergasted that the Native American tribe had slaves and that they were on the Trail of Tears. Like, I don't remember hearing about that in the history books when I was trying to teach my kids about the Trail of Tears. So much history to know. I do have another Christian non-growth one. Crown by Nancy Kaiser. I read this and loved it. It's about like the pillars of a structure, and each pillar you delve into something different, and it's just how to be the crown to your husband. And it's just such a good deep book, and it delves into the truths, and it just gets better and just reflective of not necessarily what we want to do, but what God has called us to do, and kind of putting to death our old selves and putting on Christ, and looking at scripture accurately, not as like doormats, but with a different perspective. I think that's the best way I can say it. So I'm going to be reading that one again, and I actually have somebody that I reached out, or sort of, and she had wanted to read it, and so I said we'll read it together. I actually have 2, I think they're both YA World War II books. I have Book Thief. I have never read Book Thief, and I would like to read it and then like to see the movie. The reason I have not is I've heard that it is narrated by death, and that has always turned me off. But my mom says it's good, and so if my mom says it's good, and I know that I am more liberal in my reading than she is, then I really need to get to it. And the other one I have is The Librarian of Auschwitz. This one's translated. And this is another one that I've been wanting to read for years. Finally got a copy, and I would like to actually make that a priority this year. I do have a couple books in here that I did get from my Book of the Month box, so I'll share those last because that video has not been put out yet, but I have December and I have January in here. But these last 3 are rereads for me, and yeah, I want to read them again. So one is codenamed Verity by Elizabeth Vine, like a World War II version of 1001 Nights or Arabian Nights or whatever you want to call it. But it opens up with a girl being interrogated by Nazi soldiers, and she's being tortured for basically what kind of spy she is. And they keep telling her, give us names, give us all this stuff. And what ends up happening is she ends up sitting down, and it's told through first person, which, first person. But it worked, because what ends up happening is she sits down and writes what happens, and the soldiers come back, and he's like, well, what next? You know, he gets wrapped up into the story of who Verity is. And there's a lot of twists and turns that I didn't see coming in here. I just really enjoyed it. I'm going to give a huge disclaimer though. This is probably one of the books that I first read when I kind of stepped out from Christian fiction, and it wasn't as bad as Lady on a Train or Woman on a Train. Lady on a Train's with Deanna Durbin. That's a movie. That's a great movie, by the way. What is the other one? Woman on a Train? Paula something. I'd seen How Jen Does It read that book, and I knew she was a Christian, so I picked it up and read it, and I was just like, oh, there's so much language in here. And that was actually my first read outside of Christian fiction, and I was just astounded of how compelling the story was. Anyway, all that to say, this was one that followed shortly after. I think Emily at ARG Schooling had shared this, and it sounded really good, so I picked it up, I read it, and I loved it. And now I have it, and I want to see if I love it still as much. But it is full of language. It has very strong language in here. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, read with discretion. And that is a YA. Another one that I would like to read is Ghostboy. And my friend Sharon had recommended this years ago to me. And it is about African albinos that are hunted down in Africa. And it is just this heartwarming story of just what he goes through to survive, because albinos are considered good luck for the witchcraft. And so he just goes through so much trying to survive, and it's a beautiful story. And so I want to read that one again. I loved it. I got a copy. It's not one easily found. I think I found that either on thrift books or even eBay. And then I have Lonesome Gods by Louis L'Amour. I actually would like to read more Louis L'Amour. My son is getting into it. My husband loved it. He had so many Louis L'Amour when we got married. And I think I read one of the westerns. Maybe it was like a Sackett. And I just really wasn't all that interested in it. But now that my son's kind of more interested in it, and my daughter's getting a little bit more interested in the western, I swear it's in their blood with my husband, who literally used to dress up like Adam from Bonanza. I kid you not, he had the black hat and all, the exact black hat and all. It was crazy. No wonder I fell in love with him. But anyway, all that to say, I would like to get some more Louis L'Amour read and enjoyed. One of the ones that I know is my husband's favorite is Last of the Breed, which actually is not a western, but he loves that one, and so I would actually like to find that one and read it. But this is definitely on my reread for this year, and it's also up here because I would like to find more Louis L'Amour, and it's kind of a reminder. So there's actually 4 books here that I will make a priority to read this year. And one of them is in my bedroom, and I'm not going to go get it. But I have a video coming out shortly with that. And it is Immortals of the Lincoln Highway. And I'm so excited to finish that. The only thing that has really irked me about that right now is that there are no quotation marks. So when someone's speaking, there is no punctuation for that. Didn't do that in the Gentleman from Moscow. I checked. Why would you do that? Ask me how I really think about that. Okay, but with the first book of the month box that I ordered, there was a promo for it, and so I got another book added on for $5. I think I ended up paying like $15 for my first box that included the Immortals and Made. Now I would like to watch the Netflix series, but I want to read the book first. And this is just a memoir of her basically living in poverty America. With this one, I actually just remembered I have another one, and I think I actually mentioned it in the 12 books or read your bookshelf challenge, which is the nickel and dimed America. I thought it was this one when I originally got it, but I think they kind of go together. So these are two that I would like to read, and I think that'll be interesting. Then in this month's Book of the Month box, somebody had purchased a box under my affiliate link, so thank you so much for that. I got this in November. I skipped December because there just wasn't anything I was interested in, and the ones I got in January, this is the book for January. This is the Magnolia Palace. I believe this is dual timeline. Anyway, it's not the Spanish flu, it's after the Spanish flu, but it's kind of like all entangled in there. I am not describing this very well, but I could read it, but my camera's blinking at me that I have 5 minutes left to my card, so that's one I want to read, and I'm really excited. This was one of the back ones, so I used this for the free book that I was able to get with the credit from somebody using my affiliate link. And this is The Splendid and the Vile by Eric Larson, who wrote Devil in the White City, which is also one that I would like to read this year because I still haven't read that one. But this one is the saga of Churchill, family, and defiance during the Blitz. And we did a lot of Churchill this past year in our school, just really enjoying kind of digging more into him. And so I have seen this around, and I have really been wanting to read it. I had no idea this was such a chunk. Like, Devil in the White City is like this. Like, there is some stuff here about Churchill. So this one's gonna be fun. So that's actually the books that I pulled out for the books that I want to read in 2022. There is no count here. There really is just, I have to stop before I lose self-control and bring out my whole bookshelves. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. There's 22 books here. You guys, I was not counting. I was not counting at all. I really thought I had close to 30 here. The accidental 22 books that I want to read in 2022. Okay. I knew it was too good to be true. After being so happy about that. That's not really the right word. When I was putting the books away, I found 2 more that I had pulled out to share with you. And didn't come out here with that. So, one of these is a play. I did not realize when I purchased it, it is a play. I have a very hard time with plays. It just feels very broken up. Whatever. I'm not sure I'm saying it right. But this is The Government Inspector, translated by Roger Cockrell. The mayor and local officials of a small provincial town in Russia have got it made. Corruption is rife and they have all the power. Yet, when they learn that an undercover government inspector is about to make a visit, they face a mad dash to cover their tracks. Soon the news that a suspicious person has recently arrived from St. Petersburg, and is staying in a local inn produces a series of events and misunderstandings that lead to a hilarious, that's a French word that I ain't gonna be able to say. Often quoted as Russian literature's greatest comedy, The Government Inspector is a trenchant satire of the corruption, greed, and stupidity of petty officialdom, and the crowning achievement of Gogol's skills as a playwright. So it sounded really fun when I saw it. And then The Blind Astronomer's Daughter. Look at that cover. So cool. In late 18th century Ireland, Caroline Ainsworth learns that her life is not what it seems when her father, Arthur, an astronomer gone blind from staring at the sun, throws himself from his rooftop observatory. His vain search for an unknown planet and jealousy over an astronomer, William Herschel's discovery of Uranus, has driven him to madness. Grief-stricken, Caroline leaves Ireland for London. But her father has left behind a cryptic atlas that holds the secret to finding a new world at the edge of the sky. As Caroline reluctantly resumes her father's work, she must confront her own longings, including her love for her father's former assistant, the tinkering blacksmith Finnegan, something or another, was Syodha. Then Ireland is swept into rebellion, and Caroline and Finnegan are plunged into its violence. A novel about the obsession of the age, scientific inquiry, geographic discovery, political reformation, but above all, astronomy. The blind astronomer's daughter encapsulates the quest for knowledge and for human connection. It is rich, far-reaching, and unforgettable. I'm still obsessed about that cover. I feel like it's really showing up well, but man, it's gorgeous. Anyway, these are 2 other books that I want to read. So now we're up to 24 books in 2022. Well, with that, my camera's like, you gotta stop now. So, until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter. Bye!